We finally meet. Lila, Hawk Moth cooed, making Lila sick to her stomach.
Fuck off, you bug. Hawk Moth laughed. Oh, you don't scare me. Even after what happened with my miraculous, I was able to restore it back to normal with some help. Lila growled. She focused all of her anger into the object which was slowly burning. I don't think so, Hawk Moth exclaimed. Lila screamed when she felt a strong pushback. What the hell? Hawk Moth laughed. You see, Lila, I have found a way to make sure I don't get hurt again like last time. Even though you were able to hurt me the first time, the second and third were unsuccessful. The more power you place into the object, the more pushback you'll receive in return. Lila bit her lip and growled. I can't let myself get akumatized. Mama, let all of your anger go, Apollo whispered. You got me now and you don't need to hold on to unnecessary emotions anymore. I am here, I am your anger, and he won't be able to akumatize you while I am here or unless you want to use his ability to your advantage. Lila looked at Apollo, who hugged her. Let go of it, Mama. Lila closed her eyes. Hawk Moth laughed. He had finally found a way to keep himself from getting hurt. As long as he gave her a strong pushback, he won't get burned. He felt a familiar burning and shook his head. When will you learn? He went to push back, but was shocked when his pushback was being held back. No, it was being pushed back to himself. He growled and pushed it back once again, but the same thing happened. It seemed like Lila wasn't going down without a fight, and Hawk Moth was more than happy to make her regret going up against him. Adrian, Marinette, and Principal Damocles watched in horror as Lila's wrist started to burn up with reddish-purple fire. It got so intense the room was starting to feel hot. Lily, Adrian said in fear. Marinette watched in horror as Lila literally started to burn herself just to get rid of an akuma. Give it up, you fucking bug. Lila hissed the pain. What she felt was unimaginable. This was how the others felt when she burned them. She could hear Hawk Moth laugh. Never. Unless you work with me. You have an amazing ability, Lila, and it's most useful to get the miraculous of Ladybug and Chat Noir. If you join me, you will be untouchable. Lila wanted to laugh. She had no plans on joining him. Her original goal was to take his miraculous and be the baddie, but things didn't go as planned. And for once, she's happy that it didn't. She had friends now. She originally wanted to stay as far away from the class as possible, but it was no longer up to Lila alone. The class was obsessed with her, and Marinette went out of her way to make life difficult for Lila. But no, Lila can't think that way now. She needed to stop Hawk Moth. No, Gabriel. This man had failed so many times and was only able to win that time because of Marinette's trusting nature, letting her feelings clouded her judgment when she was this close to stopping it all. She was not like Marinette. She was Lila Rossi, and she'll be damned if she let herself get akumatized because Marinette couldn't control her own damn feelings. It was like a spark had set off from within Lila. She knew very well the years of anger she had held in due to Amber helped her to repress them. Apollo was right. It's time to let them all go. Hawk Moth's cocky attitude quickly changed into pain when he felt the burning. Like I said, the greater the power, the greater the pushback. Lila cried in pain from burning and from Hawk Moth's pushback, but this wouldn't stop her, not now or ever. Lila. Adrian quickly went to Lila, but Marinette had pulled him back. Let go of me. No. This is her own doing. I am not letting someone I care about get hurt. It's all your damn fault she's doing this. Adrian screamed, pushing Marinette away, but she quickly reattached herself to him. Please, Adrian. Don't do this. Not for her of all people. Adrian screamed in rage, throwing Marinette off of him, but Marinette went back again, throwing herself at him and knocking him down. Marinette and Adrian fought against each other, one trying to save the person he loved and one trying to keep him from doing so. I'm going to go get some help. Principal Damocles exclaimed, running out of the room. You can do it, Mama, Apollo said. Lila gave a final scream before the object around her wrist turned a hellish red. It burned off, falling to the ground. Hawk Moth screamed, pulling his miraculous off from himself quickly. He gasped for air. "Sir!" Natalie screamed, running to Gabriel. It burns!" Natalie ran over to a corner of the lair, getting a few items. She quickly went back over to Gabriel. "Deep breaths, sir," she said. Quickly, she mixed up the many liquids. Once that was done, she poured it over the burn mark, which caused Gabriel to scream more in pain. Nuru, on the other hand, was glitching in and out. He knew his death was near. He wished he could live much longer to see his friends again one more time, but he had accepted his death due to Gabriel's stubbornness. He hoped this will be the last time he will be used for evil. He closed his eyes and hoped for it to be for the final time when he felt the burning stop and a cooling liquid pour over him. "And no," Nuru whispered. Adrian was able to kick Marinette off of him and quickly went over to Lila, who was struggling to keep herself up. "Lila, sweetie, you okay?" Adrian screamed. He grabbed her before she fell over. He saw her eyes, which were once a grayish-green color, were now black, and black tears started to fall. She was unresponsive to Adrian's words. "Lila." Adrian shook her. "Lila, come on, please. Don't do this to me." Teachers started to quickly come in. Someone called the ambulance. Nurse Sissy said, going over to Lila and Adrian. "Adrian, set her down. I have to perform CPR on her." Adrian hesitated, but let Lila go. Sissy went and performed CPR on Lila. Marinette watched in horror. Did she go too far? Did she overdid it? No, this was all Lila's doing. If only she didn't use that ability of hers, she would be fine. And Adrian hadn't. If Marinette knew about the camera, she would have destroyed it. Now, everything had gone up into flames. Her plans should have worked. Why must Adrian fall for a girl like Lila? Why not her? Then, Marinette heard a coughing sound, and her eyes landed on Lila struggling to raise her head. "Lila!" Adrian screamed with joy, so much joy. Marinette's regret turned into pure anger, and she wished Lila had died. "Hey, Adrian," Lila called. "Yes, Lily, I'm here." Adrian held Lila's hand to his face just as the ambulance came in and picked her up. As Marinette watched, pure, unfiltered rage overcame her. This isn't fair, Marinette thought. Why must she get him? He should have been mine. Something in the back of Marinette's mind snapped. Maybe you should get rid of her? A voice suggested. Nothing good comes to those who take from someone else. Marinette felt a hand on her shoulder, and something or someone leaned near her ear to whisper, "You should make sure she'll never see the light of day again." Marinette growled, "Lila will pay for this. Adrian was hers and hers alone." Marinette depainching. Marinette snapped out of it and looked to her principal. Her heart dropped when she saw the look of anger and disapproval on his face. "You have a lot of explaining to do." Luca opened his eyes. He got up slowly, feeling his brain pounding against his skull. He looked around to see that he was in a forest area. Fuck. Luca looked to see more, and he realized Kagami was right next to him, also waking up. Where are we?" "In my forest." Both Kagami and Luca turned to see Lila, but she looked different. "Lila," Kagami and Luca said in unison, but Lila shook her head. "I'm not the Lila you know. You're Lila, by the way. Her real name is Layla, if you were interested in knowing." "What?" Luca said. "Oh, don't act dumb. You alright knew what was going on," Lila said with a sigh. Luca and Kagami looked at each other.
Så her real name is Laila. Kinda sounds like Lila kakamisaid.
Luca nodded in agreement. Yes, and considering the options and how the name could be pronounced, she could have been Lila in certain places. "But that's not important now," this Lila said patiently. "What's important is that all of you are in danger." Luca and Kagami's eyes went wide. "What do you mean?" Kagami asked quickly.
Lila sighed again. You see, when Layla came here she brought with her a hellspawn, which me, Siren, and Kokoro, Kagami, you know Lady Kokoro as the Lady of Souls. Kagami nodded, recognizing the name. We tried to send the hellspawn back, but we soon learned that he had cut his own throat. By the time we send him back, he'll be back on our doorsteps. So, we had no choice but to place him in a body that has half a soul. We thought of sending him to England, but he made a threat which he would follow on if he doesn't get what he wants. Lila growled at that. So, you had no choice but to send him into Adrian, Luca concluded. Lila nodded. We hoped that he wouldn't be able to control or influence Adrian's behavior, but we were proven wrong. Adrian's behavior immediately started changing when he saw Layla. It was so quick that we were unable to unlink him from Adrian. We have hoped that nothing would happen. Luca blinked. Adrian told me he started to hear voices in his head. That was Lucius doing. Lila nodded again. So, were you helping him become one with Adrian? So he'll stop? Kagami asked. Lila laughed. No, we did that so we can stop it from happening. Lucius, that demonic demon. Let me tell you something I learned after I went against you, Luca, that he can actually play an instrument. I'm sorry. Lila nodded. Yes, he can actually play. He just wants someone to do his dirty work for him. And I hate to say it, but he knew we won't give up the goods easily, so he sent 2 humans to do it for him. Even after giving you 2 fakes, he went behind our backs to get the real deal. Everything was going well. Lila groaned. We went easy on you too because you're humans. Big mistake. Luca and Kagami were shocked. So, he set us up. Kagami exclaimed in shock. More or less, yes. He did, in fact, set you up. So, wait, you went easy on us? Luca asked in disbelief and Lila nodded again. Yes, we went easy on you too because you're humans. It might not seem like it, but we really did. We had bigger plans for Lucius, but that was quickly changed due to you two and for me when I learned of his musical capabilities. A question popped into Luca's head. Why was there a violin in the forest? Oh, there were instruments everywhere in the forest. You were able to find the violin by chance. Luca was for a loss for words. Yes, but that's not important. Like I said before, you are all in danger, but it's not from Lucius. There's a different kind of being that had been, let's say, let loose. What do you mean? Luca asked. This being is called Zihar, who, I might add, is bad news. She loves the idea of corruption a lot, and she'll mainly corrupt people who have twisted savior complexes. People who believe themselves to be heroes will be easily susceptible to her poison. This is what is happening with Marinette. Luca realized. That's why she's acting so strange. She got this idea in her head that Adrian needs to be saved. Kagami looked worried. So, has Zihar been corrupting Marinette this whole time? Lila shook her head. No, some of Marinette's actions are her own. Luca and Kagami looked at each other. How do we stop Zihar? When corruption starts, it's hard to stop. The best way to do it is by hitting the heart. What do you? A chorus of bells rung and Lila cursed. Time's up. She looked at Luca and Kagami. Layla is currently in the hospital because she placed her emotions into overdrive. Lucius Adrian will be there. He'll still partially be the Adrian you remember, but the more Lucius takes over him, the more unhinged his personality will become. What? Kagami screamed. Lila's at the hospital? Emotional overdrive. Luca exclaimed. Lila nodded. Yep. And remember, the new Adrian is unhinged. How unhinged? Luca asked. You'll find out. Lila held up her hands. Be careful, Luca, Kagami. You're going to need to be. Lila snapped her fingers and both woke up in a room, the room where they got attacked by those mind-controlled Parisians. They quickly got up. We can go on my bike, Luca said and Kagami nodded. They both quickly headed to the hospital. The door to Lila's room opened, which caused Adrian to turn his head quickly. He looked relieved to see Luca and Kagami.
How is she? Kagami asked quickly.
She's fine, just sleeping for right now.
Luca pulled up 2 chairs for himself and Kagami and sat near where Adrian was at. Adrian was holding onto Lila's hand.
So, Marinette's plan worked even after Lila tried to stop it, Luca said, disheartened.
Yes and no. It worked. Marinette's plan did work, and no, because Marinette will be the one facing the consequences. Not Lila.
Kagami and Luca looked at Adrian, confused.
What do you mean? Kagami asked. That day with the paint.
I brought a camera that only activated when it sensed movement in the room, and it had night vision too, so...
Luca blinked. You record Marinette committing the act.
Adrian nodded.
Yep.
It did help Lila, but Marinette got so angry that her plan was foiled that she attracted an Akuma. She could have gotten herself akumatized if it wasn't for Lila.
Adrian looked at Lila's bandaged hand.
What the hell, I heard about Lila's ability, but those are some real bad burns.
Adrian nodded again, he sighed. Why would Lila save Marinette? Kagami asked.
I don't know, but she saved her and Marinette should be grateful for that, Adrian growled.
You guys talk too loud, Lila said softly, her voice completely devoid of emotions.
Luca and Kagami looked at each other, worried.
When Lila looked over at her friends and opened her eyes, they gasped at the sight.
What happened to your eyes? Kagami exclaimed.
Lila was confused as to what Kagami was talking about.
I don't understand what you mean, but fucking Hawk Moth put up a fight. It seems that my ability was hurting him.
I guess which explains why no one was getting akumatized as of lately, Luca said.
If Lila's ability is able to hurt Hawk Moth, Kagami mumbled.
It's mostly likely that he'll come after Lila again, this time with much more force, Adrian said.
They stayed silent. I don't think he'll be akumatizing people for a while, Lila said. I put everything I had into that. Years of repressed anger can do that. This made Luca and Kagami worried. As long as you're okay, that's all that matters, Adrian said. He held Lila's hand to his face. I want to sleep right now, please.
Adrian nodded, getting up.
Luca and Kagami followed, saying their goodbyes before leaving. Pollen, please wake up, Daisy cried. All the other Kwami cried softly at the death of their friend. Trix had come back to them that Sunday night, letting them know that Marinette had completed her plans. They sighed in relief, thinking that everything was fine, which meant they had time to deal with Waze and Plague for their carelessness, but it was proven to be too good to be true when Marinette came back for more miraculous. This time, Pollen was taken. The Kwamis tried to talk Master Fu out of it, but he didn't listen. Now, after the fight was done and Pollen didn't return for hours, they became worried. They talked about heading out and finding her themselves, but when Sass went out and saw that the Be Miraculous case was on the table, but Pollen was nowhere to be seen, the sirens started going off. All Kwamis expected for Waze to be there, and there was a note when Sass opened it and Pollen came out. That was when they all started crying. The letter wrote, "Thank you for the life force, smiley face."
Daisy, let her go, Ziggy said softly.
No, we can't, we have to save her.
We can't save someone when they're already dead, Long said sadly.
Ack, this is all Plague and Way's fault. If they only told us the signs of Amber, we could have prevented this from happening, Kaki exclaimed.
We lost so many Kwami to Amber over the years, Roar said.
In 4000 BC, we lost Ivy the Nile snake of existence, which was in ancient Egypt. And in 5000 BC, we lost Inglong the sky dragon Kwami of inventiveness, which was in ancient China. In 3000 BC, we lost Banshee the owl Kwami of wisdom in ancient Greece. And in 900 BC, we lost Primrose, the Amami rabbit Kwami of aspiration in feudal Japan. Fluff, stop, please. Stomp begged, but Fluff kept going. We lost Spike the iguana Kwame of indecision in Aztec central Mexico in 700 BC. In 600 BC, we lost Benji the hare Kwame of bravery in medieval France. 500 BC in Africa, we lost Azabo, the lioness Kwame of peace, and in 424 BC, in Joseon, Korea, we lost two Kwames. The twin Kwames Daehyun and Daeyoon, cranes of loyalty and respect, and many, many more up until now. Pollen, the Kwame of subjection. She had been killed. Fluff ended her words with a scream. We had lost a lot of good Kwame back then, Mullo said. After years, Amber still takes from us. Waze got lucky that one time because of him still being attached to his holder. At that time, he was able to take all of his holder's life to keep himself alive, Eriko said softly. And cause us to do the very same to our own holders, Suppa said sadly. We had to do it because of what happened to the village we were assigned to protect. We didn't want anyone to know what happened that day. It was a hard decision to make. I remember Sass crying so much and went into a really long depression after his holder's death, Bark said, looking over at Sass, who was silent. Bring Waze here and Tiki will get Plag. They must see what they have done, Sass commanded to Eriko and Bark, who went to get Waze. Fluff looked at Sass. What are you going to do to them? We can't just kill them. Sass sighed. Unfortunately, I can't do that. They're still useful in a way to us, but their punishment will be very painful. Are you talking about the acid bath of destruction? That one and very painful torture/death method for that your beloved holder used on the many criminals of war? Fluff asked. Sass nodded. My beloved Jean, he was very smart. I wish we didn't have to make that decision. Well, it didn't work in the end because of Plag. He refused to do it and the words went around like wildfire. But this method seems to be a bit much, don't you think? Suppa said. That method only kills humans and torture Kwames. Plag and Waze are going to survive this. If not, oh well, Sass said, then added, it's perfectly fine. It is fine, Tiki's voice came. Along her, she held a struggling Plag, trying to break free. He couldn't speak due to the silencing spell Tiki had placed onto him. Eriko and Bark came back with Waze, who looked defeated. He tried to run from us, Eriko explained. Of course, Sass said. Let them see Pollen. Plag and Waze were brought to where Pollen was. At once, they both closed their eyes in horror, tears falling. You two will pay for your incomparable crime, Trix said. Let the punishment begin, Sass hissed. Marinette, am very disappointed in you. Sabine screamed, making Marinette jump. Now, sweetie, let's not, Tom said, but was cut off. Marinette destroyed school property and sent a girl to the hospital. We'll be lucky if she doesn't go to jail for this shit. I know, but... No buts, Tom. This is serious. You young lady are in so much trouble. Marinette looked away from her mother, angry. No matter how much she tried to deny the allegations, the video proof of her committing the crime could not be denied. Well, Madam Chung, Marinette will be expelled from school for her crimes, and you will have to pay reimbursements for the designer clothing she destroyed, Principal Damocles said. Sabine threw up her hands. Oh, great. Wonderful. We're going to be in debt because of this. A knock on the door came to their attention. Oh, come back later, please. We are in a meeting. Principal Damocles called, but the door opened anyway. Mrs. Rossi walked in with an unnerving smile. Hello, everyone. Ah, Mrs. Georgia Rossi, you're here early. Georgia giggled. Yes, I know. I just want to say a few words before leaving. Of course, Principal Damocles said, letting Mrs. Rossi have the floor. First and foremost, I don't want Marinette's life to be ruined because of this incident. Instead of expelling her, how about a 3-month suspension? What? Marinette screamed, getting up. That's, like, almost half of my school year. Shut up, Marinette, and sit down, Sabine commanded. Marinette did what she was told. And I want Marinette to pay for my daughter's hospital bill. That's it.
Oh, is that all? Principal Damocles said. Well, we can. Oh, silly me. I forgot to add, I want your daughter to attend a rehabilitation school, which is in a home facility so your daughter can work on her behavior. Here's the flyer. Georgia handed Sabine the paper, who took it and read it. Oh, it's not far from here, just on the other side of Paris. Sabine, you're not really considering, Tom asked nervously. And you won't have to worry about the fees, Madam Chung. I'll take care of them. Unless, if you want. We'll do it, Sabine said. Marinette and Tom gasped in horror. Sabine! Mama, please. Sabine ignored them. We'll take the deal. I'll send you the money for the hospital bill. Georgia smiled. Maravigliosa. I am so happy. Call the school when you get home and they will have everything ready for you. Goodbye. With that, Georgia left. Sabine turned to her daughter. When we get home, get everything packed and ready to leave. Is there a reason why your students keep getting suspended, Madame Bustier? Madame Bustier stuttered. She was called in for a review of her teacher license, and it wasn't looking too good. 2 students suspended for breaking into a locker. 1 suspended for threatening another student. 2 more suspended for throwing paint on another. And now 1 more suspended. Not expelled, mind you, even though it would have been warranted for destroying school property and attempted framing of another student. Now, what does that tell you? I need to pay more close attention? Madame Bustier answered. No. It means that something is going on in your class and instead of acknowledging it, you just let it happen. Your continuous neglect and ill handling of the situation has allowed your students to run rampant and your environment descended into chaos. Because of that, Kayline, unfortunately, we are suspending you without pay until we complete a thorough investigation into the matter. But. No buts. This is the consequence of your actions. Now leave. Kayline got up and ran out the room, crying. And another one suspended for hacking into the school systems and messing with the cameras. My, you won't have a job after this. Luca hummed to himself as he played his guitar in his room. Luca? He looked up at his twin sister, who appeared tired. Yes. Marinette has been suspended, and she's going to a behavioral school. I hope you and your friends are happy. Those are fighting words, Jalika. Watch them. And, besides, it was her own fault. Not mine or my friends, hers and hers alone, Luca said calmly. But we were trying to save Adrien. You have no idea what Lila had done to him. He was a nice boy until she came. Luca sighed. People change, Jules. Deal with it. Jalika bit her lip and turned from her twin, walking out of their shared room. Your eyes are better, Kagami said. She was in Lila's hospital room, eating snacks that Kagami was able to sneak in. Yeah. So, my eyes were completely black? Kagami nodded. Yes, they were. It was crazy. Huh, Lila said, picking up a chocolate bar and eating it. A knock on the door caught the girls' attention. Adrien walked in along with Luca. I have somewhat good news, ladies, Adrien exclaimed. He walked over and kissed Lila's cheek. Thank you. Adrien had been overly affectionate with Lila ever since she came to the hospital. It was a bit odd, but Lila wasn't that bothered about it. What's the somewhat good news? Kagami asked, looking at Luca. Marinette was suspended from school and she'll be going into a behavior school, Luca said. What? Lila yelled. She only got suspended. That's some bull-ass shit. That's not fair. She should have gotten expelled. I know, girls, but we won't have to see or deal with her for a while. And she's going to a behavioral school, Adrien exclaimed. We should have a party to celebrate. You want to celebrate at your place this upcoming Friday? Luca asked. Yeah, my father won't mind. Okay, then it's agreed. Party at Adrien's house, Friday afternoon, Kagami said happily. Lila giggled. I'll be out of the hospital by then. This is going to be so much fun. After an hour in the hospital, everyone decided to leave. Kagami and Luca hugged Lila and Adrian kissed her cheek again before going. Lila waited for a moment before calling out Apollo. Apollo, are you awake? A small yawn was heard and Apollo poked his head out. I am, Mama. Apollo yawned cutely. I have candy. Apollo fell out of Lila's hair and sat on her lap. He took a piece of candy and started eating it. A thought came to Lila. So, if Marinette is leaving for a behavioral school, who's going to be the new ladybug? She wondered out loud. Probably one of her friends, Apollo said. Alia is the most likely candidate. I am so grateful for Adrian for buying that camera. I would have been fucked over so badly otherwise. Oh, most definitely. Marinette must have asked Max to hack into the camera systems. Definitely. From what I heard, that camera was motion activated, so when Marinette walked in, her fate was sealed. You have a question, Mama? Well, she went through all of this to get rid of me. Why does it feel like I'm missing something? Apollo shrugged. Marinette did pull an overcomplicated plan to get rid of you. Yeah, but still. They found the clothing destroyed this morning, which means she destroyed them on Sunday night. She got the camera turned off, but I still feel like there's something missing. Oh! Are you asking how? Well, Mama, the answer is obvious. After she left the room, she had to make sure it still looked the same in case anyone walked in. Lila's eyes went wide. Tricks. She did use a miraculous after all. Apollo nodded, eating another piece of candy. So, which means she planned to use the miraculous of illusions, which means that anyone could have come by the school and to do a check. She did this last night, then someone came and checked. Why didn't she just leave the room as is? She had my keychain, which I am surprised I forgot about. I always leave it in the side pocket of my bag hooked up too. She probably took that day she gave me a hug. But someone would have to walk in and see the mess, call the police, or notify the school. They would see my keychain and I'll be expelled first thing that Monday morning. Maybe she want to see your face of disbelief and shock? Apollo said. I don't know what to think. Is she smart and a fucking idiot? For our sake, Mama, let's say both. Lila nodded. Hey, don't eat it all up now. Apollo giggled and so did Lila. She patted her Kwame's head. Goodbye, Alia. Here's Tiki. You'll be Ladybug for the next 3 months, Marinette said. She hugged Alia and Alia hugged her back tight, not wanting to let her best friend go. I'll miss you, girl. Marinette tried not to cry. After the meeting, Marinette's mom had called the behavioral school and they had an opening and they accepted her right away. Tom and Sabine watched them. Sabine, look at her, Tom said sadly. You're right. Sabine poked her head out of the car window and honked the horn. Come on, you're going to be late. Tom facepalmed himself. You have to go tell the others. I'm sorry. I will. Max is going to have to wait a while, though. Why? Oh, right. Max also got suspended for hacking into the systems. Marinette covered her mouth and Alia nodded. Yep. Marinette wanted to cry again. Don't cry, girl. 3 months would go by fast and you'll be back with us. Alia kissed Marinette's cheek and Marinette started crying again. The car horn went off again. Marinette reluctantly let go of Alia. She went to the car. She waved goodbye to her best friend for the last time. A woman that looked to be in her late 40s stood in front of a gated school whose name read the Juliet School of Behavioral Health. She smiled when a car pulled up. Madam Am? Sabine called and the woman nodded. Yes, Madam Chung. Sabine smiled, getting out of the car. Tom and Marinette followed. She and her father grabbed the bags. Welcome to my school. You must be Marinette? Madam M turned and Marinette nodded. Wonderful. Come now, let's get you settled in. Madam M turned and Marinette and her parents followed.
In our school, we help troubled children that have been kicked out of school or have a horrible past overcome their problems. We have all subjects here, math, English, you name it. As Madame M explained, Marinette looked around. Nothing seemed bad about the place. It was full of lockers. She saw some students walking around her. They all seemed normal. Then her eyes landed outside. The courtyard was big and she saw other students hanging out and talking. They walked past a group of students, one boy with dark reddish-brown hair and deep brown olive skin. Marinette could see only one eye from him, which was a sea-green color. He was talking to two girls, one with raven-black hair that was pulled up to two twin buns. As she talked, she played with a yo-yo. Her eye color was a deep hazel brown. The other girl had short blonde hair. She moved her head from side to side happily. She wore glasses and her eye color was a deep ocean blue. The boy pointed at Marinette as she walked past them. She smiled and the three students looked at her and smiled back, but they were predatory smiles. It made Marinette's skin crawl. She turned from them, scared. After an hour of looking around the school, Madame M stopped at a room which had a number of 36. This will be your room. You'll be sharing it with Mao Mao Chun and Anneliese Schmidt. These girls are sweet and would love you, Marinette. Madame M emphasized that love part with sarcasm, which scared Marinette. Now, get to unpacking. I'll have a schedule ready for you first thing tomorrow morning. And Madame Chung, let me show you out. Tom hugged Marinette, and so did Sabine. See you in 3 months, sweetheart, Tom said, pulling back. That's right, Marinette. Love you. Marinette watched as her parents leaving her behind. She looked at the door and opened it. Her new room seemed clean enough for her liking. She walked to an empty bed which had her name on it saying, "Welcome, Marinette." She would find this heartwarming if Madame M hasn't said love so sarcastically. Marinette started unpacking. As soon as she got some of her clothing in the closet, the door opened. She looked over to see the blonde girl with glasses she saw earlier walked in. They looked at each other. Oh, wow. You're a roommate. That is so amazing. The girl ran up to her, grabbing her hand tightly. My name is Anneliese Schmidt. I am from Germany. Hi. My name is Marinette de Painchung, Marinette said nervously. Anneliese let go of Marinette's hand. Oh, don't be scared, I don't bite. Anneliese walked around Marinette a few times. You don't need to be wearing this anymore. We have set school uniforms. But you can wear your normal clothes outside of school hours. And we have a set schedule so our bedtime is 8:30 on the dot. Miss even a minute of it you'll be given a warning. Your only warning, that is. Anneliese hissed that last part out, which scared Marinette. Anneliese stopped in front of Marinette and looked at her. So, what's you in for? It's not important.
Oh, ritis. Telme.
Marinette stepped back in fear as Anneliese's sweet, bubbly tone turned crazed in seconds. Anneliese, leave the poor girl alone. If it's not important, it's not. Marinette looked up to the other girl she saw earlier. The name's Mao Mao Chun. I am from South Korea. Marinette de Painchung. Back off from her, Mao Mao said, walking to her bed. Anneliese looked sad but shrugged, going to her own bed, which Marinette realized was closer to hers. Make yourself at home, de Painchung, you're going to be here for a while. Right. Marinette continued her unpacking. Anneliese watched as she did it. Plag was in so much pain from the punishment. His skin burned from the acid bath he had gotten from Sass. He cried as his little moments caused him pain. You okay, Plag? Adrian asked. Why would you care? Plag asked. Hey, just trying to be nice, but okay. Fuck you then. Plag hissed. You're not, Adrian. You're some imposter. The Adrian I know would never act like this. Yeah, but I'm still Adrian, just a little different. That's all. Deal with it. Plag cried again but screamed in pain when Adrian picked him up. You are loud and annoying. I'm gonna throw you in a dark box. Cry in there and come out when you're ready. Adrian carelessly dropped Plag in a box and closed it up. He walked away from it. Plag cried again and heard, "I'm throwing all your cheese away," which made Plag cry more. Are you excited, Felix? We'll be seeing your cousin in a few days. Felix nodded. Yes, Mother, I am. I can't wait to see Uncle, too. Yes, Gabriel. Felix's mother made a face which showed disdain for the man, but she quickly changed to a smile. Adrian must have gotten so big since the last time we saw him. Oh, maybe he has a girlfriend now. Felix laughed. Probably. He's a model. He's gonna have one eventually. Oh, you're right. Exciting. Felix turned to look out the window. A dark smile appeared on his face. Can't wait to see you, Uncle.